it is within our power to do so much, but we depend on Christ to do the rest. So when the disaster comes, what is our response? Yeah, there's a parallel to salvation here where Christ raises us from the dead in a spiritual sense, and when Christ in the final resurrection brings us to his presence and all of those things. Yes, there's that parallel here, but right now we live here, and how does this apply to today? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to go. The second thing we need to do is we need to believe him and pray, because that's what you're doing, right? And then the third thing we need to do is physically get these things out of the way. And the fourth thing we need to do is unbind them and let them go once he's worked his miracle. Now, there's a clip, which I think they've got for me at the back. No, they haven't? No, okay. There's, if any of you have seen Schindler's List, there's a bit in Schindler's List towards the end where he has done everything he could to save these people. Everything. And there would have been various miracles along the way where chance happened with this and chance happened with that, and I managed to get them back here. And we see one with them getting shipped off to a concentration camp where they were going to be executed, and then finally it gets brought back, and the train gets brought back. And he goes through this process. They make him a ring out of gold teeth and the gold that they had in this community, and give him this ring. And he sticks it on his finger, and he drops it, and he picks it up, and you can see he's all shaky and everything else. And he turns around to Isaac Schern, who is the guy that who's his administrator that's been trying to help him to save these people, because he's a finance guy, and you can save the world through finances. And so, you don't have to be a singer to do ministry. You can actually do it by keeping the books. And so he's talking to him, and he says, this car has 5 people. This pin, that's one person, 2 people right here. It's his gold. This is 2 people. And he goes through this process of thinking, if I'd have just saved a bit more, I could have saved more, because he realized that what he was able to do was enough when he realized that God was with him in the process. That this would have been enough, and this would have been enough. And folks, you may feel utterly powerless. Yeah, Jesus raising the dead thing, you may feel utterly powerless. But the small little bits that you can do matter. They really, really do. Yeah. The tiniest little thought, little card, a little pat on the back, a little hug, a little prayer with somebody, a little moment where you take Jesus to somebody. Yeah, this is what you carry. You see, Jesus isn't here anymore. He sent his Spirit to be with us. Yeah. We constantly look for Christ to come down and sort it out, but his Spirit has been placed within us. We walk around, and the same power that raised Christ from the dead lives in me. And so we walk around with this presence of God with us. We're not an Acts 1 church. We don't believe in just prayer meetings and meeting together and having nice teas and coffees, and then when the crumpets are all finished, we go home. We don't do that. We believe in the Spirit of God that moves on us and fills us and inspires us and empowers us to go and do. And so we have to go where the dead are. Yeah. If you, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the hearing one. If you listen to that one, I talked about how the blood is in the field. Yeah, you need to go where the blood is. And because that's where it's crying out from. And so go. Should we even be here on a Sunday morning when there are needs to be met and there are places where Christ needs to be brought to? That's a bit of a scary statement, isn't it, Pastor? What's more important? That you get a job sorted out and everything else, or that you repair the relationship with your son? Nicer car or a healed marriage? What's more important? What sacrifices do we undergo in order to bring life to a situation? What things like Christ do we abandon so that they may have life and have it to the full? What will matter more in 30 years' time? That you have £20 more in your pension a month, or you have your children? Yeah. How does Christ make the dead live? Christ makes the dead live by transforming the way we think about death. Christ makes the dead live by empowering us with his Spirit. We cannot do it on our own, and we utterly depend on the presence of God. And so maybe, just maybe, timing's okay today, maybe, just maybe, we can give life a little bit more this week rather than try and demand something be given to us. Maybe, just maybe, we can look for the good and the positive and the hope rather than just tearing things down and looking at the darkness and being part of the process of destruction. Maybe this week in your marriages, it can be prioritizing time with an individual rather than prioritizing time for something which really isn't going to matter in the long term. Maybe it's actually giving up of an issue which you really should have given up a long time ago, which isn't going to heal the relationship. And maybe it's about, God forbid, allowing the presence of God into the relationship. Maybe it's about time that in the church we stopped worrying about where everything was and started focusing more on where the presence of God is. Maybe as a church we start worrying less about the state of the platform and more about the state of the community. Maybe we should stop worrying so much about whether we have a roof over our head and money in our pocket and worry a little bit more about the fatherless young people that will completely destroy this whole fabric of this culture if the church does not rise up and invest in them. I think the riots taught us that. You can clean a street, put nice shops in it, get everything sorted out, and have all the coffee places you like. But it takes one night of broken young people to destroy it all. And we have the nerve to put the blame on them. I mean, this guy that torched this furniture shop, sure, he shouldn't have torched the furniture shop. But my goodness, can we not look past what the man did to look at the death that's going on in the coffin that he's lying in? What put him there? Surely we should be more concerned with the health of the individual and less concerned with the disease. That is what we should be cutting out of the culture. That's what we should be cutting out of the community. The church brings life one way and one way alone, and that's by going where the dead are, believing Christ can change it, removing the stones, letting the Spirit move, and then unbinding them and letting them go. That's the principle that we have. Now, I've spoken for long enough, and the discoverers will be asking me to wind down, so I'm going to wind down. I'm going to pray. Hopefully today's been okay. Boy, did I wrestle with this one. Because I know that even within this room, there's people that have lost people and are still in some way walking in the pain of that. And even from my own life, I struggle with the whole area of suffering. I think I've got some concept of how God is, but there's part of me that's just utterly dependent on God, just knowing what he's doing sometimes. And I think the call to the church really is that it's about time we focus less on programs and more on the presence of God and the Spirit. Because as a doctor, I know that you can only get so far with what you know. And there comes a point where your hands are tied, there's no more you can do, and your faith has made you well because nothing else has. Yeah? And I'd like to be in that church too, yeah, where we come here and we pray. Boy, do we need to pray harder than we do. Yeah, we come here and we seek God for that and that and that and that. We come here and get healed, yeah, physically or even mentally and psychologically. There's people in this room. Keep going. Don't give up on God. Keep believing, and God will heal you. Yeah? He'll heal you of that addiction. He'll heal that broken marriage. And yeah, part of it is your fault. And sort it out. and stop having the bad attitude towards him or her, and actually begin to force yourself to love one another, and begin to realize that it's actually through the sacrifices and the compromises that you make and what you give up of your regality and your pride and everything else that actually helps you to invest in that relationship. And the minute the pride war goes up and you owe me this and you owe me this and you owe me this, you cease to be like Christ giving life, and you become more like the person that sucks the life out of the situation.